So apparently we are live, despite not having things in OBS saying that they're working properly. Lighting could be a little better. I'm a bit grainy, but hey, I've got an old webcam in here that's about 7 years old, I think. And I can get my fancy, much newer phone camera working, but then I can't use my phone for stuff, so bit of a pain, bit of resistance to getting things going. And we don't need that here because I am just making games in my spare time. So let's do that. Right now, still working on a command bots thing and doing an early prototype of that. Yeah, this URL just here, which doesn't show up very well with the white, that itch.io URL is where this game will be playable, but it isn't yet, because I haven't actually got kind of any actual play happening in there. I've got this though. I've got this robot, and if I click on there, this robot has this list of commands here that are its routine, and if I fix whatever those compile errors are, I'll get to that in a moment. I think I was in the middle of writing some code. Yeah, I was. Then it will follow those commands, which in this case is walk forward, then shoot laser, shoot laser, shoot laser. It doesn't do anything. The lasers just fly for a certain amount of time and then stop. They can't destroy the enemy factories or enemy bots because there aren't any enemy bots. But we're early on. But basically, these are the icons for the commands, and they're going to go in here, which is really hard to read visually. I notice when I look at it on stream there, but that is something I'll fix. I'm basically just throwing together stuff that's roughly right, and I can tweak the hell out of it later. So I was actually just couldn't stay away from development. It's when there's a fun new project. So I was starting to get these factories ready to start spawning these things, which I guess that's pretty basic, but I might have got a little carried away with having energy and metal production and energy and metal costs, which I've just got the base costs, but there'll be extra costs later when you want to, say, make a robot that's got a sensor that will allow you to have a decision point in the routine. If it senses something, it does one thing, and if not, it does something else. So basically in its update loop, this is for the factory, generating some income, progressing the build of the current robot, and then if that build is complete, it'll spawn the robot. You can see some red squigglies here because I haven't implemented those yet, or even made a stub for those. And this is getting a little bit complicated because I try to do stuff with having an integer amount of metal, but only consuming a floating point amount per frame of the game, which I don't necessarily have to do that, really. I could have these factories operate on a sort of second by second update. But I haven't decided to do that. I haven't decided not to do that. So let's go for it. I've realized I forgot to do something I was going to do. That's all right, a bit late now. I will do that later. So let's see what this is. So this is basically, we've got a robot being built, and the build progress is a number 0 to 1. When it gets to 1, the robot's built and it can be spawned. So I guess I can basically implement this build complete right now, because it's just basically and because these are floating point numbers, we actually don't want to do equals that way. We want to do like 1 minus that build progress is our number. So that should be approximately 0. We want the difference between those two to be less than flow precision. No, that is a different thing. It is an epsilon. There. I believe epsilon's what we want. This is a tiny floating point value, and that's a good way to check the difference. We should get the absolute of that. I think because it's. Oh, wait. This is 1, and that's the build progress. We expect the build progress to be less than or equal to 1. And so that should be fine. Because this is going to give us 1 minus the build progress is going to give us a number starting at 1 and then slowly going down to 0. And so when it gets really small, that's fine. Sometimes you want to look at, is this number like either side of value? So there we go, build complete. It was at least a little bit more to it, justifying another method. But the thing is, if it makes it really readable here, it's worth having a separate method, because the compiler will optimize all of that out. And we don't want to optimize anything until we're either noticing a performance issue or we're profiling some code and seeing where the actual slow points are. Now, excuse me for starters. Excuse my voice if it's a little off today, because I've been trying to not get sick and not necessarily completely succeeding. I think I could make this method pretty easily as well, spawn robot, because we just need to basically instantiate the prefab. Do we have a thing called robot prefab? Yes, we do. And we can put it at a position, and if we do that, is that going to be parent? What are my overloads here? Oh, they're all over the place. So we can just give it an original to instantiate. We can give it an original and a parent. We can give it an original, a parent, and a boolean. For world space, we can give it original, position, rotation. Okay, so we can give it position, rotation, and parent. Yeah, so let's just do no rotation by giving it the identity quaternion. And I don't think we want that to be the parent. I think we want it to live in robots. So we'll call that robot container and pass that in with a serialized field. There we go, so that's where we can put it. And I don't think we can actually drag that into there until we've got this working. Anyway, it has to get instantiated, but then we need to grab the robot script off that. I think if we use that, okay, so that has to be that type. let's not do that right now. Let's just do new bot. I'll name that one. Which is that just a type of game object? Yeah. So we'll get the robot component off that. This is actually a bot object, so let's just call that bot object, and then that's the bot. And then we need to do some things with that, because this is where we're going to basically set all the what did I call these? So you've got there will be upgrades to the robot. There'll be parts, upgrades, and the routine. Those things will all need setting. I haven't implemented most of that. There we go. And I might encapsulate that into a sort of a single object that's like the bot settings for that factory. That way it can just copy them over, make it a struct. But for now, we'll do the routine. And do we have a routine on here? Did I add that? Yes, we've got this routine here. So that's the one. At the moment, it's just a serialized field, but at some point it'll be, I've just pointed with my fingers at the screen. At some point it'll be what's dragged into here. So you select your factory, and then it will show the current routine that robots will spawn with, and then you can drag or click or something these things into the spots, make whatever program you want for them, and then whatever that is when they spawn, that's what they're going to get. Which means we don't want them to have the actual routine from the factory, the actual array to be passed by reference. We want to copy the routine in. Routine equals, we're going to do a new array and give it routine. How do we set all the how do we clone an array in C#? Is this? Oh, this must be that browser. Oh, I know why that's not toggling something. All right. Embarrassing search history. Array.clone looks like a good candidate for cloning an array. Clone returns a shallow copy of the array. Yep, that's fine. It only has enum constants, so that is fine. So routine.clone. Oh, what's the problem here? Cannot implicitly convert type object to robot actions. Explicit. Okay. So that's interesting. I wonder, is there a generic version of clone? Returns object. Let's look for a C# generic array clone. Here's someone asking why it needs to cast, so if there is a way to not need to cast, someone will have that. I don't care about casting. This is not something that's happening that often. It's not happening every frame. So it's not that important, but it's more for me to understand and know later. But why is the language designed that way? It's iClonable. Okay, fair enough. Well, so that's just what you get. So unless this array.copy method is more useful. Copies a range of elements in one array to another array and performs typecasting and boxing as required. Interesting. Anyway, I think I'll just cast it and move on with my life, because why not? So that should probably be auto-fixable anyway, and we know it's going to be the same type. This will basically be, once these exist, we'll set whatever parts have been customized for that robot. So you could have one that has a different weapon, or no weapon, or a shield, or whatever other interesting things I think of. Oh geez, sensors especially, different sensors. So by default they'll just kind of blindly go through a series of actions, but giving them the ability to detect if there's an enemy ahead of them, or maybe to the diagonal to the side of them, or different things like that. They can react to that, but you have to program the whole thing, and that's kind of the point. You only get the behavior that you have that you've told them to have, and so you kind of if I end up making it work multiplayer, then it'll be trying to outmaneuver each other with your robot's routines. That was not a sip. That was a big gulp. Oh, and the other thing we need to do then is reset the build settings. Probably not in there, because it kind of doesn't make sense. Well, maybe it does. I'll just do that, just inline here, where we basically just want to set our build progress 0. I'll probably extract this to a method at some point. So this is basically just setting everything to back to no build progress. You've still got the metal and energy in your in the factory to use, and that's unrelated. That's just the production over time. And move that down. Just putting the things that go together. So these are related to the build, these are related to the production, and I might even split those out into separate scripts since they're separate concerns. I'm not doing anything in start yet. I'll just add it in if I need it. Okay, so no progress, no metal or energy has been used in that, and that should be fine. I think that's everything I need to do. All these things are kind of, the base will be won't change, but as you add parts, it'll calculate up. All right, let me get this thing working. I'm going to pull that out to a method right now. It's just a different level of abstraction to the other parts of this update function. So this will just read better. Reset build progress. There. I'll just pull that in there and rearrange these at some point. Anyway, so we're setting the routine on that bot, and I think that's basically all we need to set right now, or we need to make sure it gets positioned properly. So at the moment it's being positioned at the position of the factory, and I think what we want to do is animate the bot to walk out of the factory. So I think that means it's got an animated controller on it. That is not what I want. Let's have a look at that robot. It has got its animator, and it's doing some stuff, and we're basically doing animator.play, and walks forward exactly 1 unit. So that'll go from the factory to there, and it'll be ready to start the routine. So that's fine. I'm going to grab this and put it here. And then I just need to have an actual animator. There we go. That animator. And I'll just put that up here as well. So get the robot script, and it should do the trick. So one more thing to finish, and that's this build progress, which I may have overcomplicated this, but basically this is like what proportion of the robot build, which is that build progress, can fit in the amount of time that's happened for this update frame. This is where we could end up if we have the resources for it, the metal and energy. And then this was what I was in the middle of. Basically going, okay, given this, we've got consumed metal and consumed energy is the total. So metal in build, energy in build, that's what I want. Those are the total amount of metal and energy that have been sort of delivered to this robot to then be built. Think of it like you brought some nuts and bolts and some batteries for the rivet guns and stuff, and it's that's available to use, and then it'll get topped up at this point. It'll figure out how much it can top it up by, and it'll basically do as much of the build progress as it can within that time, based on how long the build takes, and within the available resources, like how much. If it was making like 1/10 of the build progress in this frame, which is probably too much, but it's just easier to think about, then it would need 1/10 of the metal and 1/10 of the energy available. So this max time progress, we need to know how much like energy and metal that needs. So we need a whole number, so we're going to ceiling something. So I guess we need an int This is the metal we need in the build. Needed. It's going to be equal to base robot metal cost divided by max time progress. And this is dividing by a float, so it's going to be a float, right? Let's just store this as a float for now. No, because we're sealing to int this thing. With math f dot sealing to int function. Okay, so that's how much metal we would need to make that progress. And it's exactly the same thing for energy. Probably should have started with just one of those resources. Oh well. Do we have enough? What's the deficit? Metal deficit is the needed metal build minus the metal in build. Needed energy in build. Yeah, there we go. Just copy that. Now, do we have enough? I think we just need to do like having two resources kind of complicates it, because if you've got half as much metal as you need and a quarter as much energy as you need, then you want to take a quarter of both. So you kind of want to figure out what's the limiting factor here, and then go for that one. So I think whatever this is going to be, it's going to be now, what are these overloads that we've got for this? Yeah, just a couple of ints will do fine. So there's going to be metal deficit. We'd like to get that much. Out of the current metal. So if this is less than the current metal, then we'll say we want to take that much. If current metal is less, then we can only take that much. So this will be available. This is like out of what we need. And then same thing for energy. I've just realized I don't have any chat open, so if anyone's been doing any chat messages, I apologize. Because I don't know, yeah, for some reason, I haven't got most of my docs open. And that is thanks to Restream, which is working apparently. Like, it's streaming to places. It looks like Stream Elements is in my Twitch channel. And maybe I just grab, hopefully, I don't know, grab my YouTube channel just here on this device. So yeah, sorry if it seemed like I was ignoring you. Okay. Go to the stream. Haven't actually even checked out what stream management stuff is available. So anything for live chat. Gripping stuff here. There we go. That's live. I think the thumbnail on there is showing. Not sure why YouTube makes live stuff so so tricky. There we go. Got messages. Adaria. Cool. Excellent. You are awake and on the stream. That's good. Because I kind of switched from the early time slot to the late one. I'm going to leave this over here. And Omega Killer said, what are we building? So this is I don't know when that message was. It might have been a while ago, but I can answer it anyway. It's a robot game where these factories make robots, and you have a routine that the robots follow that you set up in the factory. So every time a robot spawns from a factory, it will be preloaded with that routine, and you can't change that. It'll just go and do its thing. So if you get the routine wrong, you might end up with a robot just going in circles in the battlefield until it crashes into something or gets exploded. And you basically, if I zoom out a little bit, there you can see it's your opponent's factories, and those will be doing the same thing. And you're sort of trying to outmaneuver each other with having your bots make their way around and get to the enemy factories to destroy them. So early prototype right now. Last stream I got this robot basically able to get hard coded with some things here, some routines, and or some commands in a routine, and it will follow those. But I haven't even got around to anything with hit points or damage or what have you. I'm just doing my overly complicated way of getting the robot to be produced in the factory. Then once it's finished, then it should spawn and walk out of the factory. This is the last bit of this. And I haven't got on the top of my head what we'll do after that. Okay, so now given this available metal and available energy, then we can get, I better make that be the energy deficit. I hear that on the news sometimes about stuff that politicians are talking about. Not on purpose, though. If I hear anything in the news about politics, that's just a mistake. Okay, so now we need to figure out how far can we actually get. We've got 3 different things that could be limiting how far we get. We've already factored in the time by basically figuring out the maximum metal or energy we could get to given that available time. So now, are these going to be limiting at all? So I think I need to This is my possible metal and energy and build. I probably should have just gone through and done metal and then go through and do energy. And that's just going to be current metal and build plus that available metal. And then same thing for energy. Okay. And then figure out what is the limiting factor. Okay, so now I need to get my actual max progress. So I've got my max time proportion, my max time progress. So I know, given the available time, that is the maximum level of progress that we could hit. So now let's just see what is the max progress for other things. So for metal, that is going to be possible metal and build. Divided by my base robot metal cost. And this is integer, integer division, so it's going to give me not what I want. So let's cast this to a float. Let's cast it inside these. So that should give me back a float now. If I'm remembering the way those work properly. Could this be greater than? Actually, we could actually go over 100% here. So do I want to clamp it? Clamp by 1. Nice. That's just a shortcut for clamping between 0 and 1. I don't know if that's new. I don't remember seeing it before. But maybe I just didn't notice. Okay, cool. So now this max time progress, if this would be greater than 1, then it'll end up at 1. Okay, so getting there. This stuff here might not make sense. Hey, look at these max proportions. Yeah, proportion. So this is what I used to be trying to do with that, but now, yep, that thing. Same thing for energy. This feels like it's taking ages. It probably is. And I've got a very strict finishing time this time because I accidentally kept streaming for way too long last time and threw out my sleep. And apparently I need sleep because I'm not a robot yet. So I'll have to put up with that for the moment. Alright, so that hopefully is going to be working, giving me values. Just in case I got those float casts in the wrong place. Because maybe I need to put them on the denominator or something. I'm just going to pop out those 2 values in here. So quick check. Max metal progress. Factory farm here. It's a robot factory. If these robots were animal robots, it would be a factory farm. That is a dad joke. The highest form of humor. Okay, so we've got all of these maximums and this one here. So now I think we just want to get our actual progress to be the min of those. Seems like so many calculations. And this is happening every frame, so I might need to revise this. Because I could pretty much just say, if there's enough metal and energy for one frame of build, then build it. If not, then don't. But I have this issue where like metal and energy are being stored in integer amounts, but I want to consume less than integer amounts because each frame is smaller. But I guess that's fine if it just does no progress, no progress, no progress, and then a bit of progress if things are behind. Anyway, I'll stick with this for the moment. What am I looking for? I'm looking for that max time progress. Yeah, max metal and max energy progress. Yeah, so these are all possible progress amounts that we could reach with those resources. I just realized we probably don't need to do the deficits. Or anything. We could basically just do like current metal plus metal in build with the max progress amount. Yeah. It kind of doesn't really matter, like all of these details. Is just if we were to take all the available metal and put it into this build, how much progress would that support? And which might be a very high amount, maybe like enough to build it 10 times over. So I'll simplify that in a minute. But we've got this actual progress, and this is the bit where I realize, like, even if these are really high, the time will limit it. So that's fine. We don't need to actually put these down at realistic amounts. And now, basically, now's when I probably need the ceiling of the actual progress. It'll be the same as these, but using a different thing. So this will be the target amount of metal and energy. Actually, we need these things, just not this early. So I'll just move those down here. They'll be needed. Okay, so it's I'll fix these up now. It's just metal in build plus current. That's the maximum possible if we consumed all of it. And then we figure out what progress that would represent for those. I'll leave a space between those. Check that's right. And then we figure out, yeah, what's the actual progress based on whichever's most limiting. And then that's how much we need. That's the deficit. And now we've already computed in such a way where these should be fine to move some metal. So we move that like that, and we want that to be coming from current metal. And put them around the other way, so it's like you take it off here and put it on here. Same thing for current energy, like that, and I thought if I waited a moment it would get that one. So that's moving the, basically it's moving those resources into there. So because it's moving it, it's like a, one metal is a box of metal, if it was in boxes. And then that gets moved into the build, even if they're only consuming, a few bits of metal out of that box. Sort of a conceptual way to think of it. And so if there's already enough metal to support as much building as can happen during this frame, then that's fine. I need to mute. This biological non-robot body does not like dust, yet it makes dust. That's very weird. It's like if I didn't like pancakes, but I made pancakes every day. Makes no sense. But that's evolution for you. I guess we're not really meant to be living in a sort of enclosed box where all the dust accumulates. We're supposed to be living outdoors where all the bugs and things can crawl all over and eat all the dust. Hope nobody's creeped out by bugs and things, because I'm not. And most of my disgust response that I might have had to things was learned out of me when I was learning medicine and surgery and stuff. So I don't really know where the line is anymore. You put that like that. Keep getting the top of my head cut off, which sounds uncomfortable. It's certainly unpleasant to watch. Actually, in contrast to what I was just saying, I think a friend of mine showed me a scene in the Hannibal movie. I don't know if there have been new ones, but the one that is the first ever sequel that I know of to Silence of the Lambs, there's definitely a scene in there that just came to mind that I would still be quite uncomfortable with. But I wasn't learning medicine on humans anyway, so that's probably why. Okay, what am I doing here? We've consumed the things. And so I guess now just the build progress is going to be equal to the actual progress. So that was where we figured out we could be. And so let's say we do be at there. That's my best English ever. So we've done that. And oh yeah, this was doing it by a little bit of progress. Yeah, it's like if everything was just floats and I was just using floating point values, then that would be a bit simpler. The problem you get then is that you might have something where it's displaying a certain amount of stuff and you think, oh, that's enough. But it's not actually enough because it wasn't quite the right amount because of floating point arithmetic. So I thought, let's just not do that. Oh, I noticed that was unused, which it shouldn't have been. And that's because that should be energy deficit. That's what I get for for wait, what? Yeah, that's totally wrong. That's what I get for using the AI or whatever suggestions. Show potential fixes. IntelliCode suggestion based on recent edits. Energy deficit. What? Oh, because I added energy deficit to something else. Maybe I want to add energy deficit to. No, don't. Like, why are you suggesting such a stupid thing? Add energy deficit to itself, hey? Okay, so we're taking metal, this much metal, off our metal, and putting it into the build. Am I taking this much energy out of our current energy, putting it into the build, and progressing the build? That should be fine. That should work now. That should completely work now. Now, I don't have any visibility of these things. Any of these things. So let's just make them visible. Hang on, am I using this yet? In my produce resources? Yes, so basically I'm producing resources in floating point amounts. But anytime we get a whole number amount, then we basically take that out of the metal production factory, box it up, and add it to our current metal. That's the, again, using the box of metal analogy. I'm pretty sure metal is not shipped in cardboard boxes, but it is for these factories. That's what I'm going to assert. And I invented this, so I get to control the narrative. Now, what is the time? Okay, cool. Got about 51 minutes, approximately, precisely 51 minutes left. So, let me get going with this. Oh, I don't actually know. Oh, this is the factory script. And there are all these factories, and I think I'm just going to get errors because of that. We haven't got an instance. Oh, no, that's actually because of this animator and needing to close that. So I've got, well, that's a thing. Let's see what we've got here. I didn't actually think to check. Okay, a few things going on here. For one thing, that was never going to work because if I have a look at my prefab factory, it does not have a factory script. So let's use this factory as the archetype for the moment and grab that factory script, slap it on there. Okay, now this has got a robot prefab that it needs. So this is the robot prefab. Pop that in there. Robot container. That is this thing here that says robots on it. So I'll pop that in there. That's just to keep things organized. Not strictly necessary. You can spawn things wherever you like. And we're generating 1 metal per second, 20 energy per second. We've got a maximum of 100 metal, 5,000 energy. And robots cost 10 metal, 100 energy, and take 5 seconds to build. And by default, let's just say we've got a walk forward and shoot laser alternating. That's looking pretty good. So this is actually not including some things I was just saying I want to get some visibility of. These things. That's okay for now. Actually, I won't worry too much about that. I could just put that in here, actually. Let's just do a big debug log that has got some stuff in it. So we can do can I do like a string dot repeat? Oh, no, it doesn't matter. Let's just do current metal. Let's do like current metal, E, current energy, and robot. Is it R for robot? Build progress. Okay, that's probably about enough for us to see what's going on. Robot, we got build progress, which is made up of the metal in build and energy in the build. There. That should give us a nice bit of output about that. Yeah, I think that's about all we need. I've saved that, yes. Building. Right, so this factory is not the same, so I need to apply everything to the prefab. Now we should have another factory here that is... Oh, this one does not have the transform on it. So what's going on there? There's our factory prefab. Let's get that container set in there. We can't. Why can't we? Type mismatch. Robots. Robot container type mismatch. That's a bit weird. Robots has got a transform in it. Robot container. This probably should be calling out to like a robot spawner that will do the actual instantiation and use object pooling and stuff. Should be a transform. I don't remember seeing that before. Doesn't mean I haven't, just means I don't remember. So let's just have a look here. We're looking for Unity. What did it just say? Something about the type being wrong. So let's grab. So I've got this factory and I've got this robots transform right there. And apparently it won't apply that. Unity. Touch scene transform to prefab. Can I attach game object to a prefab? Yeah, that's basically the kind of thing. It's a transform of a game object, sort of same thing. You can't do this as of 2010. That was quite a long time ago. So yeah, we might need to find that robot container to have it actually be used. So rather than that, let's just go to where that is, and let's just use the factory as a parent. It shouldn't matter anyway. Yeah, I think I basically want to have a singleton object pool for robots, and then this can just call out to that to spawn the robot, and just give itself its own transform as the argument for using in the position. Okay, there we go. Shouldn't matter now whether that has been set. Let's go. Come on, let's see some robots. This camera is not showing the factory, so I need to drag that a bit wider. I haven't done anything to control the camera. I should go to the scene view though, because each of these factories, whoa, that's a lot of robots. I don't think that's what's supposed to happen. I'm going to pause. Now that's coming from the animator window, so that's fine. But we're starting with a 0, 0. Oh, those zeros are coming out as zeros. Okay, we've got metal 10, energy 100. Robot is at 0 with 10 energy and 10 metal and 100 energy in it. And then it's still at 0, still at 0. I think those things are not floating points, but for some reason we're spawning a lot of robots here. That seems like, I guess that's not that many. Seems like quite a lot though. We should be taking 5 seconds. Is this just, oh, there'll be one per factory, right? We have got 8 per site, so 16 factories. So we should actually see 16. 16. Okay. Now we're at, oh, that was half of them. Because I've got these other messages interspersed here. But it looks like if I scroll way down here, grab, oh, the variable animator of robot has not been assigned. Okay, that could be a problem with the robot prefab, or it could be something else. Robot prefab animator. Doesn't even have an animator. That seems like a problem. So let's just, is that each factory is making this many? That's interesting. Okay. I'm going to just stop that there and fix the issues. Okay. New robot, we got an animator. That seems to be working. Let us apply all that stuff so that our robot prefab actually has what it needs. Okay. And now, it would be nice if we just had one factory spawning at a time. Let's say we can have these factories be inactive. I'll need some way to do that anyway. So basically we can just say, like, if not active, return. We're not going to do any update if we're not active. Oh wait, I've already got a system for that. It is called make them not active right here. Okay, so factory 1 or factory 0. Factory prime, the one that doesn't have a number after it. I didn't have to do that. Could have just done that. Now I've done both. So that'll save me some time. Okay, so they've got animators set. But build complete, did I implement that properly? So we're starting with current 0 and build progress 0. And none of those things in the build. If build complete. Okay, build complete. One minus build progress. So 1 minus 0 is equal to 1. So it should be okay. Build progress is a float. So that should be all fine. So we shouldn't be spawning robot. And reset build progress. Build progress 0. Metal and energy build 0. So yeah, I think in this progress build, int over float gives a float just here. Let's have a look what these are doing. Float, float. If I put these casts here, then what happens? Anything to infer a different type for these? Okay, they're going to be floats. Why are you giving me that suggestion? That stupid suggestion. Ignore suggestions like this because they're stupid. Cool. Okay, let's see how that goes now. So I should have one factory spitting out messages. That should be a bit easier to see. I probably should get rid of that log. Okay, I'm going to pause that. And just because these numbers are moving a bit fast. So right now we got, apparently metal is at -5. Energy is at 0. And my robot is at 0.5 progress, so it's got 10 and 100. Isn't that the cost? So robot costs 10 and 100. And apparently there's 10 metal and 100 energy in the build, but we're only halfway built. Looks like it would be 10 and 0.4, 0.4. and they're negative. So I guess it's computing that we have enough, and then it's accidentally getting like the whole amount. So it's basically doing something illegal. It's going into debt. And it should not be going into debt. So basically what that means is that this amount is wrong, because that should not be, on the first frame that should be 1. Like we should need 1 energy, 1 metal, and there might be more than 1 energy. Let's go with metal. This number should start out at 1, because it's going to take, it's consuming 2 metal per second. So if we've got 30 to 60 frames a second, then 1 metal should last us for a bunch of frames, 15 to 30 frames. So definitely it seems like it's starting out up here with that's every second one. I'm going to go rid of that one there, because those zeros are showing me zeros from floating point. That could be the issue though. I'd better just see what we got here, because yeah, we're actually getting 0. Wait a minute. This is the actual progress I'm targeting. So we're always doing it on a time progress. That doesn't seem right. The metal we need is for the actual progress. Yeah, I think that was some code I copied down. So the amount that we need is going to be the cost divided by how much progress we're actually making. Hey, is that the right way? No. It's the other way around. What am I doing? If we're doing 0.5. Oh, wait. That's not even. It's that times that, because it's a proportion. Who knows what I'm thinking? And also, it doesn't matter which way around these go, but I'm just making them both be the same way around, so it's easier to follow. Okay, that should be better. So, like, if we're halfway, it should be half of the metal. And if we're 3/4, it should be 3/4 of the metal, just rounding up to the nearest end. That's probably going to give us something better. So it's like how much we're trying to get minus how much we've already got is how much more we need. Take it off there, add it on there. That could all be good. I hope that didn't just change something randomly. Oh, it did. Why did that do that? That might simplify down a bit more, but I don't think it'll help with the readability. Oh, 0.01. That's actually good. Just wondering if I've coded that in a way where it's going to potentially have issues with things being able to be negative. Certainly did just then because I figured out the values and then ignored them and used a different value. So if all goes according to plan, in 5 seconds plus however long Unity takes to compile here, we should end up with a robot. 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. Okay, should be spawning. Aha, we got a robot. And now it's doing its routine. Yes. And we should have another one coming out. There we go. We're spawning robots. And now I should be able to grab this factory and change the routine. The next one that spawns should do 2 laser shots. 1 step, 2 laser shots. 1 step, 2 laser shots. Yeah. And then we can get wacky with it. Turn right, walk forward, turn left, walk forward, and remove that one. There we go. Oh, nice. That one's spinning around. What's this one doing? Oh, that one spawned while I was in the middle of changing this, so it's now kind of stuck in a weird loop. That'll get funnier when these can collide with each other. That might make sense to have like a pause. But no, funnier if it just that happens and then the next one comes out and they crash into each other till they explode. And then the way is cleared for the next one, hopefully. Otherwise, you just end up with a pile up. And you might need to, I think pausing the factory would make sense. Okay, spawning. Robot spawning works. That's good. That's excellent. What to tackle next? What I might do is, now that works, make a commit. And so we've got a factory prefab, robot prefab, things like that. Robot actions, enum has been extracted to a separate file. And this is still a scene called sample scene. That's fine. So what did I do? Where was I up to last time? Add most prototype assets, robot routine, laser. Yep. Okay, so make factories, spawn robots. Okay, I think I'm at a fork in the road here. I don't know if I've got enough time to complete other feature, but I could either start making the robots collide with stuff and like damage the other factory, or give them hit points and stuff, or I could start getting these command icons working and a way to build up the commands without using the inspector. The second one sounds like the way to go because it's the newest bit. So while I think for a moment on that, I'm going to run the simulation with mini robots. There we go. I could really test this out by setting the energy and metal production lower, so lower than they need to be to support robots building at full speed. That would be cool. Okay, you're running now? Yeah, so we should need to wait about 5 seconds and then get ourselves some nice. Oh, doesn't want to keep playing when I click elsewhere. I think there's something I can set for that. There we go. I think the default should be shoot and then walk, because they're always going to walk to start with. They'll walk to here. Although taking a step first can be good, clearing the way for the next one. Okay, so that's enough of that. Nudging projectile. I got some debug logging to remove. This stuff would, in the real finished game, be represented with progress bars and things like that. But right now, not so. Yeah, that's fine. More of those? No, I think in robot I've got something. Unrecognized action, that's fine, I'll leave that one there. Yeah, don't need that. That was just when I was having some, having some troubles with getting those lasers to go because the animator was had set root motion on, and I did not realize that was doing weird things to the ability of that laser to move. These are annoying, but I basically need to restart Unity apparently to stop those. Although I found if I just close that animator tab and then reopen it, that seems to work as well, but not for very long. There we go. That's the tiredness signal. So where am I at? 9:24. 9:25. So yeah, 20 minutes to go. Where is my? I got some frames off a laser there. Here's a factory. Here's some thingies, and there's the thing where they go. I just want to lighten this up quite a lot because it's really hard to read. I don't want to make it the same color as that though. Maybe make it more like a rust brown color, something like that maybe. That's certainly a lot more visible. Yeah, just like that. Too bright. Back to that one. That'll do for now. This is not the finished product. This is just what I can throw together quickly. And I'll definitely need to revise these. What am I doing? That's not. I'm clicking on Unity's menus. And I just want to do like export that. Yes, to overwrite. Okay, now you can actually see those, especially on the little stream preview there that highlights when things are hard to see. Yeah, I want those to be able to be controlled, to be moved into there. So I guess I want them to drag and drop, and I want that to basically give you a copy of whatever's in that button to drag. Although I think it should also be possible to click one of these to highlight it and then click on somewhere in the routine. Anyway, I think I need to decide how that's to be controlled. that's going to be a single script in charge of that. So I've got my routine track there in this object, and I've got my command palette there. So I think together those are going to be in the same thing. This is going to be the routine editor. And it's made up of, let's just reset its transform. And that's made up of those two things. There we go. So now I'll make a script for that. Routine editor. Menus over on the other monitor for some reason. I may end up with multiple scripts, but let's just keep it simple and start with one for now. Oh, and I did some cleanup there. Let me put that cleanup in here. I won't include the routine editor, but everything else changed in there. Oh yeah, so this is just cleanup. And update the routine track sprite. There we go. So let's get this thing working. So this is responsible for displaying routines, and I've got an and, which means there probably is too many concerns and it should be split up. Anyway, let's just try it like this for now. So displaying routines, displaying and line, drag, drop. For displaying routines and editing. Let's just say and editing routines. The reason I'm writing this first is because I do want to have a clear idea what the responsibilities of this are. And so I'm going to need some way to get the currently selected factory or robot. Yeah. Is there a selection system? I don't know. But I can make my own interface. Has routine, which could refer to a robot or a factory. And for now, I might just make that serializable so I can just drag and drop them into there. But I need to make a selection system and have that change it to here. So this I has routine is going to be a type. And how that's going to be defined here is it's basically this bit of the this thing. It's got a robot actions. Routine. And what's your problem here? Is it this public? Not public. Maybe we want that to be a property. It's public by default on interface. And a property with a getter and a setter. Does that seem? What am I missing here? I'm missing this. There. So that is the interface. And now the factory is one of those. I has a routine. And it's not implementing that, so let's get it to implement that. And that's added this. We don't want to do that though. We just want that routine to be removed. Okay, so I'm going to grab this because we want the same thing in the robot. So it should be an IHAS routine. I love how the interface of having a routine is that is now just making it take the form of again as cheeseburger. Okay, so now we have that. So I should, I think, be able to drop a factory or a robot instance into that slot to have this work for it, which is good enough for now before I've got the focus system. The selection system. And now what we want is we probably don't want to do anything in particular at first until something's actually selected. But I think what I'll do is we've got the selected robot of factory, and I'm going to make just a private one of these. Previous selected thing will do. And to leave that not initialized. Then every frame, basically just if previous selected thing is not equal to null. If this, whatever is selected now, is not equal to that, including if this is the first update that's ever run, I'll just say if they are the same, then return. And then what we can do here is basically at that point we just say that so that we won't. So yeah, if it gets to here, it means that they're not the same. So now it's going to set that. That'll stop this from being called the next time. And then if that's equal to null, so if it was basically removed, They will return because we don't want that to happen. And now we're ready. So what are we ready to do? Probably want to display the current routine in the routine track. So now we actually need a way to display a routine. I need to have a way to map those different sprites to the enum values. So I wonder how I could do that. I guess I might just allow, I'll make some fields here for these things here. These, oops, I've put the wrong thing in here. Put that there, command palette. Yeah, that's what I want. So in the command palette, we've got literally just some sprites here. So they've got a sprite renderer with a sprite in it. So yeah, for now, I think I'll just drop those sprite renderers, will I? No, I'll just put the actual sprites. Oh, it's going to be, I'll just do an array of sprites, and this is just going to be command sprites. And these will be in order. Do a tooltip. In the order that enum is defined. Should be fine. Which is, pop that open, and should probably set up my assemblies properly too. But for now, we're looking for robot actions. So this, just pop that on the right-hand side, and now I'm going to put it at the bottom instead because it's taking up way too much vertical space. So that's our enum of robot actions there. That's the one. I only said half of that sentence. That's the enum that it's talking about. So it should be walk forward, shoot laser, turn left and right. So that'll have some sprites. And what we want to basically do is set we want to have some command icon thingies and set their sprites to the appropriate sprites. So I think on that routine track, we could probably have something with sprite renderer. I mean, we've got those things, but I mean, in front of those, we want things with sprite renderers that we can just update to show the thing, and that'll need to be able to be clickable and stuff like that. So let's put in here to the sprite I think I'm just going to get the actual sprite out of here. So I'll grab the walk forward. It occurred to me I haven't actually considered making a walk backwards thing yet. So that's exactly the same as that. I could have just duplicated that, but doesn't matter. Let's put that in there. And I'm going to reset its relative position to center it. So that is a sprite renderer there. And I'm just wondering how much stuff do I want to drop in here? These steps are in order, aren't they? Okay, so that's that, but let's have none selected to begin with. And then let's take this prefab and, oh, and this is, let's give this a name that makes more sense. So we got a routine track step, and this is a routine. This is a and or an action icon. There we go. And that's, yeah, there's no sprite. That's what I want. So now I can apply that, and they all should get their own empty one. And now I think I'm just going to pass in this routine track here. There we go. So now I can get everything in there. Just on start, get okay, so I want each of the track steps in order. And for now, all I want to do with each of those is control something in there. Oh, geez, I've only got a minute left. Anyway, let's get child count. I'll do a for loop. I is equal to 0, I is less than. It's going to be routine track child count. And then get child to that. So this is just setting up my a private array of game object. Track steps. Does that give me a thing? There, nothing. And I'll just push those in. So push, what do I do? I guess just track steps I is equal to that. It's a transform. Then we'll just make these transforms. And okay, I'm over time. I thought I had an alarm that was going to go off. Apparently it hasn't. So I really need to get finished up here. But I'll grab those. Grab the sprite renderers from these. track sprites, sure, that'll work. Let's grab track steps I, get child 0. Just going to get the first child. And then we'll get a sprite renderer component. There, that will work as long as I have actually set those up properly. And then all we're going to do is when we've detected a change in that, then we can just do the routine, the for each. Let's just do a for actually. Yeah, for loop here, and let's just put that in. Grab that routine, and then that's what we're looking at here. So we're going through the length of that. I should do something to constrain it to the length of our track, but that doesn't matter for now. Track sprites. Add that index. That sprite is equal to those command sprites. And the index will be converting that thing to an int. The action index is routine at that index. It should just be able to cast that to an int, I think. Okay. That might work. Not yet, because I haven't put the sprites in there. But that's just attaching the routine editor onto my routine track here. Sorry, under my routine editor. Now we need that routine track to be there. We need to definitely add these things. I think if I were to get those not added, and then go in here and grab those, and then actually have that selected and locked so that they stay selected. I think I can just drop those into there. 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I just need to have my selected thingy. Selected robot factory. Doesn't look like I can select that. Because apparently an IHAS routine is no good for that. I don't remember if there's a way to make that work. but let's just find that at the start. Find game. Find any object by type. Type of factory. Could that work? Any active loaded object of type. So we're going to grab one of them. Cool. So that I'll just say, just grab one. Is one of those is one of those a thing? Oh, you don't need to actually do that, do you? If you've got that type. Okay. This is the last thing I'm going to do because, oh geez, I'm late. It is nearly time to end the stream. I'm hovering over this stop streaming button. I'm going to start turning lights off. And getting out of here. Now, is that displaying anything? No. Errors on console. Don't know. Well, I guess I'll have to do that next time, which will be on the weekend, I believe.